Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we are plunging into some early whispers, really, and market analysis surrounding Google's upcoming Pixel Pen Pro. We've gathered quite a mix of sources, leaked images, supply chain info, some opinion pieces, and user comments that are already bubbling up. Our mission? Simple, really. Let's unpack what these initial glimpses, these discussions, tell us about Google's strategy, the device itself, and what potential users like you are already buzzing about. Let's just jump right in.
Okay, so it all seems to kick off with, well, the first big leak. Reports are saying images supposedly of the Pixel 10 Pro popped up. Apparently someone known as at Mark's Gone Public photographed a commercial storyboard. And what's really telling, according to the sources, is that this account vanished pretty quickly. That suggests, the images might have been legit and definitely got Google's attention. Looking at those supposed leaks, the design, well, it looks quite familiar. Seems very much like the Pixel 9 Pro, even keeping that temperature sensor.
Right, so the outside looks familiar, maybe not a huge change there. But the sources, they really seem to emphasize that the real story, the big deal, is what's happening inside, under the hood.
Exactly. I mean, the most significant shift that everyone's talking about is this Tensor G5 chip, the one expected inside the Pixel 10 series. The word is, this chip is Google's first, properly custom application processor, designed totally from scratch by Google. And crucially, the manufacturing partner has reportedly shifted. They've moved away from Samsung Foundry over to TSMC, using their, really advanced 3nm and 3E node. So this isn't just tweaking something that exists. It's a fundamental strategic move. The key insight here, I think, is that designing the chip completely themselves and partnering with a leader like TSMC on this advanced node, it gives Google, well, unprecedented control. This kind of integration makes it much more plausible for them to develop truly unique features, high-performance stuff that's deeply tied to the hardware. Things that might not be possible if they were relying more on off-the-shelf parts or less advanced tech. So for you, the user, this could mean AI capabilities or performance tweaks that are genuinely exclusive, really setting the Pixel 10 apart.
Okay, that's fascinating on the tech front. Moving beyond the internals, though, what about the timeline? When might we actually see this, and what are the sources saying about, well, the price tag?
Right, so current expectations, based on the usual supply chain chatter and, past patterns, they point towards a classic Made by Google event, probably happening in August for the official reveal. And we're anticipating the usual lineup. Standard Pixel 10, the Pixel 10 Pro, maybe a larger Pixel 10 Pro XL again, and perhaps even the next foldable, the Pixel 10 Pro Fold. Now, pricing. Analysts seem to largely expect stability, at least for the core models. The Pixel 10 is likely staying around that $799 mark, and the Pixel 10 Pro at $999. So, maintaining the prices set by the Pixel 9 series. The thinking behind this strategically seems to be that Google is prioritizing getting these devices into more hands, maybe viewing the value less in squeezing out a few extra bucks per phone and more in growing the user base, for collecting AI training data and pushing subscriptions for their premium Gemini features. The Pixel 9 series, it seemed to use competitive pricing to boost visibility and really hammer home AI as a key feature. Sources suggest that strategy is continuing. Now, the Pixel 10 Pro XL, that launched at $1,199 for 256GB last year. That's where we might see a bit of movement. It could possibly stay put, price-wise, or maybe increase by about $100. That would create clearer steps between the models. But the sources do note there's a risk there. A price hike might push some users, especially those just wanting a bigger screen, towards other brands, though Google probably hopes you just, opt for the slightly smaller 10 Pro instead.
Okay, interesting strategy. Now, one thing you mentioned, features people care about. One point from the sources that really seems to have sparked, well, surprisingly passionate debate in the comment sections is charging speed.
Oh yeah, that was very noticeable. One author we looked at just came right out and called the Pixel 9 series charging speeds, 27W for the Standard and Pro, 37W for the XL. They called them embarrassing, especially when you compare them to rivals like Samsung's 45W or, some OnePlus phones hitting over 100W. And that author's perspective was, well, quite compelling. They argued that until battery tech itself makes a massive leap, truly fast charging is critical. For them, personally, it's actually become more important than camera specs, given how good Pixel cameras already are. But then you dive into the comments on these articles, and you see real pushback. Some people were like, fast charging, not a priority for me at all. They're fine charging overnight. Others raised concerns, that high wattage charging might degrade the battery faster over the long run. Yet you had other commenters emphatically agreeing with the author, calling fast charging a total game changer, saying it allows those quick top-ups during the day, which they feel actually reduces dependency on needing a battery that lasts absolutely all day. And some even argued it might be better for long-term battery health than leaving it plugged in fully charged all night long. So countering that degradation claim, there's also some speculation, maybe helped by potentially better heat management from the new Tensor G5 chip and internals, that the Pixel 10 series might finally get faster charging. Maybe 45W for the Pro and XL models, we'll see.
And just a quick note from our sources, something interesting happening relatively soon, actually. Google is apparently hosting a Pixel Penthouse event in London sometime in June, aimed at superfans and partners.
That's right. Sources describe it as a sneak preview kind of thing, offering an early look at the Pixel 10 series and maybe other upcoming devices too. It's expected about 6 weeks before the likely August launch event. For Google, this is probably, a way to generate some early buzz, get feedback from enthusiasts and key partners, likely under NDA, before the big public reveal. And for you, the listener, it's a sign that the hardware is probably pretty much locked in by then, even if they're still tweaking the software before launch.
So, wrapping up this deep dive, the sources paint this picture of Google potentially making a really significant internal leap, right? With this custom-designed TSMC-built Tensor G5 chip for the Pixel 10 Pro, plus a strategic call to mostly keep prices steady, maybe focusing on that AI angle. And then there's this surprisingly intense debate among potential users about something as seemingly basic as charging speed. It really seems like Google is making big moves under the hood, aiming for perhaps deeper integration and leaning heavily on AI to make the device stand out. But the question for you is potentially faster charging the feature you care most about in a new phone? Or are you holding out for something else entirely from this Pixel 10 series? Well, that's something to chew on as we wait for the official unveil. Thanks for diving in with us.